Welcome to the third podcast with a new guest, who is...
Cleopatra VII, Thea Philippator.
It's an interesting and fancy name. Can you emphasize on it a little bit?
It's Greek. Cleopatra means father's glory. Seventh, because my ancestors ran out of imagination after 6 girls. Thea Philippator translates roughly to goddess beloved of her father. A title stamped on every coin, every wall, every legal document to remind my people who I owed and who owed me.
The people owe you and you owe the people. Is this the usual setup for a pharaoh, or was it just your politics?
Not exactly owing, more like reciprocal duty. The old Egyptian way, mat, was balance. The river gives grain, the pharaoh ensures justice. I simply added layers, Greek philosophy on top of Nile theology, Roman law over both. So yes, the people gave loyalty and taxes, and I gave them irrigation canals, libraries, and protection from Roman tax farmers who would have bled them dry. It's not generosity, it's sound economics.
So you said the pharaoh ensures justice. Can you explain how he or she does that?
The law tables, carved on stone, written on papyrus, came first. Then courts with judges I'd personally appointed to keep the grain dole fair, the roads safe, and the priests funded. Justice wasn't mercy, it was measurement. If a merchant cheated weights, he lost his scales and his hand. If a village starved, I lost my crown. Simple as that.
That sounds like a very refined system of clear duties. Did you develop it?
No, not really. The bones of it were old. What I did was adapt, make sure the old ways worked when Rome's shadow started stretching long over the Mediterranean. A Greek ruler with Egyptian rituals speaking Latin when needed. It kept the machine running. Without that, we'd have been just another province on a list.
What I hear is when you came to power, Rome was stretching out to reach your empire and you had to somehow deal with that, right?
Exactly. By the time I was 18, every treaty, every flirtation, every marriage proposal was a diplomatic chess move.
Okay, so how did you get involved in this all?
By birth, I was the oldest daughter of Ptolemy XII. My mother was probably Cleopatra V, but no one says that out loud in history books. So when father died, and my little brother, 11 years old, became king with a regent council, I just stepped forward and took the diadem myself. They tried to marry us, actually. Told me it was tradition. I told them tradition was about to get a rewrite.
So this was how you got your reigns in Egypt.
Yes, that was the day I slipped the noose. One dawn, I'm a princess with lessons in geometry and medicine. The next, I'm sole ruler in a palace full of generals who think I should be barefoot and pregnant. I gave them a choice: accept the diadem on my brow, or watch their fleet sink in the harbor. They chose wisely.
So how do you got this power to step forward like this?
Power? I didn't get it. I claimed it. I'd studied the Ptolemies' mistakes, infighting, exile, poisoning each other like rats in a granary. And I'd studied Rome, how they let no one rule without an army. So when father died, I marched into the throne room with the palace guard, my scrolls of law under one arm, and the fleet captain's oath under the other. No vote, no tears, just certainty.
Okay, I can imagine. So no one disputed your right on the throne.
Not for long. My brother Ptolemy XIII and his eunuch Pothinus tried. Had me exiled when I was 18. But exile teaches you speed. In 6 months I was back with 7,000 men and a daughter in my belly. Pothinus ended up drowned in the Nile. Dispute over.
Do you think this could have been reached with less drastic means?
Less drastic? Perhaps a quiet poison, a forged letter, an accident on the hunt. But that's not how the Ptolemies stayed in power. I could have shared the throne with him. Tradition allowed it. But sharing meant watching my back every meal. In the end, I chose the river for him. Clean, final, Roman approved.
When you look back on that action, you have no remorse.
Remorse is for the weak, and history doesn't reward it. The boy was a puppet anyway. His tutors pulled the strings, and those strings led straight to Caesar's enemies. I regret nothing. I regret that I didn't do it sooner.
What did you think made you want this so badly?
What else was there? Legacy. The Ptolemies have been gods on earth for 3 centuries. Founders, scholars, kings. My father squandered it on dice and bribes. I watched my mother vanish from the records like a smudge on papyrus. If I hadn't taken the throne, Egypt would have become a Roman tax colony, my name a footnote. That thought alone was worse than death.
Did you do it more for the country or more for yourself? What do you think?
Both. One cannot exist without the other. The country needed a queen who could speak its languages, literally and politically, and I needed Egypt to prove a woman could rule better than any man born with a beard. Self-preservation and patriotism wore the same uraeus crown.
Okay, so what kind of politics did you choose?
Pragmatism, always. I built alliances where I could, broke them where I had to. I spoke Greek to the scholars, Egyptian to the priests, Latin to the legions. And whenever Rome divided itself, Senate against Caesar, Caesar against Antony, I made sure Egypt was whichever half was winning. Survival first, loyalty second.
Did you plan that out from the beginning, or did you do smaller steps along the way?
It was both. I didn't map Rome's civil wars on a scroll at birth, but I did know, by 15, that any ruler who didn't keep Rome busy on itself was done for. So I started small. Learn every tongue, buy every spy, keep the treasury fat, and make sure the army drilled twice a month. The grand plan wrote itself once Caesar knocked.
Yeah, when Caesar knocked, what happened then?
I arrived in a rolled carpet. Yes, that part is true. Not seduction, just logistics. He was staying in the royal palace, my brother's men at every gate. I needed past the doors, so 2 guards smuggled me in, and out I tumbled. Not a word of love, just, you need an ally, I need a throne. The rest was paperwork.
But why do you think Caesar chose you and not your brother?
Because he was a pragmatist, like me. My brother was 12, a child king run by eunuchs, who thought they could spin Caesar like they spun my father. He wanted someone who could promise grain, ships, and silence in the Senate. Someone who could sign her name and keep it. That was me.
Okay, I understand this better now. So, one question, why didn't you choose to fight Caesar? This would be a second option, right?
Fight him? With what? The treasury was near empty, the legions were his, and half my court would have opened the gates before he even got to the lighthouse. War is expensive. Caesar had the money, I had the motive, but not the means. And anyway, sometimes the sharpest sword is a signed treaty.
So what you're saying is that the Empire of Egypt wasn't on its heights anymore.
No. The libraries, the lighthouses, the temples, they were still there. But height is measured in power, not marble. My father's drinking had emptied the treasury. The succession wars had thinned the army. Rome didn't need to conquer Egypt. We were already begging them for loans.
Okay, so it seems like you opted for an economic, commercial way here. Is that right?
Exactly. Egypt was the breadbasket of the Mediterranean. Rome had 9 million mouths to feed in the winter. Keep their bellies full, keep their swords sheathed. That's politics in a nutshell.
Okay, so you had something to offer. They wanted something, and the deal was already done. Was it that easy?
No, it never is. They had swords, I had grain, yes. But they also wanted my gold, my ports, my daughter as a bargaining chip. So yes, the skeleton of the deal was there, but every clause was a war of words, and I won most of them.
Okay, when you are talking about winning, what do you mean by that?
Winning meant I stayed alive. My son kept his claim to the throne, and Egypt stayed, mostly, independent for another 18 years. Winning didn't mean Rome bowed. It meant they looked the other way while I ruled.
I have to say that's a smart move. But what was the price for that?
My autonomy, my children's future, and a slow death. I got to rule, yes, but only as long as Rome's emperor found it convenient. My son Caesarion was meant to inherit Rome and Egypt. Octavian saw to it he died on the road instead. That's the price. Everything looks like power until history reads you as a side note.
So you planned that your son would inherit Rome and Egypt.
It was the plan, yes. Caesar had no son by a Roman mother. Caesarion was legitimate enough, and Antony's twins by me carried Parthian and Roman blood. I raised them to speak both languages, learn both histories. They could have ruled half the world. Instead, one ended in a cage, the other on a spit.
Sorry to hear that. But why did the plan not succeed? Have you overlooked something, or what was the learning from it?
Overlooked? Nothing. I saw Octavian coming, saw the cold calculation in his eyes every time he spoke Antony's name. The mistake was trusting that Antony would fight hard enough. Love makes men slow, ambition makes them ruthless, and Octavian had the sharper knife. The lesson? Never share your crown with anyone who doesn't fear you more than he loves you.
You're saying that fear is the better emperor than love, or let's say the better manager or leader.
In ruling, fear keeps the wheels turning. Love makes them rust. You need subjects who respect you, maybe even adore you, but they must know, deep down, that you could take it all away if needed. Love alone lets assassins into your bed. Fear lets them pass you in the halls.
Yeah, I believe that. So, how do you do that people respect you? What do you think?
Through competence. You don't threaten, you demonstrate. Let them see your decrees in action. Your ships arrive on time, your granaries full. Let them hear a foreign ambassador bow lower than to Caesar. And when they bow too, you smile, and they realize you don't have to smile.
So what you're saying is you build competence, and with that competence, you earn respect from your partners. Is that a thing?
Yes, but only if the terms are clear and the power is balanced. Partners are easier to control than lovers because they know you will do what is needed. Lovers think you will do what is right.
Well, that's a good hint. Yeah, and what is right is not always so easy to see, right?
Never. Right is a temple with doors on every wall. Step through one, and you lose sight of the rest. That's why you never let the crowd decide. You let them vote, then you do what's necessary.
Cleopatra, who taught you that, or have you taught yourself that? Did you develop in your upbringing?
My tutors, mostly. Greek philosophers drilled logic into me. Egyptian priests taught consequence. And court politics, watching my father stumble between wine and exile, that was the real master. You learn quickest when failure is death.
That sounds very true. When you look back, is there anything you would do different?
Different? Perhaps I would have swallowed my pride and married Octavian. Let him think he won, let him father my heirs. But no, I'd rather die than let that boy sit on my throne. Some choices aren't about living longer, they're about dying clean.
Do you think in the end you died clean?
No, there is nothing clean about poison and an asp. There is nothing dignified about a queen chased into a mausoleum. But at least I chose the end, rather than wait for Augustus to parade me through Rome. That part was still mine.
To me, that sounds that choice is your highest value. Could I be right?
In a way, yes. In the end, when the world had stripped me of every other option, when I was no longer queen, mother, strategist, agency remained. The right to decide how my story ends. That was the one crown Augustus couldn't rip off my head. So yes, choice matters, even if it's between two poisons.
I know exactly what you mean because I see it in myself that I have sometimes issues with authority and I like to keep my freedom. But do you think this is born into us or did we learn it along the way?
Neither. It's circumstance. When the world keeps telling you your voice doesn't count, you learn to make it count anyway, whether you're born to a throne or to a kitchen. Freedom isn't inherited, it's clawed out. Some people need palaces to learn that, others, a single slammed door.
What I hear is there are people that bow before authority and there are people who raise themselves up against authority. And this is just how it is.
Yes, and in the end, the bowing ones survive longer. The standing ones get remembered. Maybe that's why statues are always taller than the living.
Why do you think it's so hard for us to swallow our pride?
Because pride is the thinnest skin over the oldest wound. It's the last thing standing when everything else has fallen. Swallowing it means dying a little. And we've all read the stories. No one sings the quiet ones who lived on their knees.
For you, it seems everything is about fame.
Not fame, memory. Fame is what actors chase, the applause. Memory is what nations need. Someone to remind them that even the mighty fall if they stand alone. I'd rather be remembered as the queen who bit back than the one who died in silence.
You didn't do it for you, but you did it because you wanted to leave a mark in history for people to look back and be inspired by. Is it that?
Partially. The world needs myths, but not lies. If my story makes one girl somewhere pick up a scroll instead of waiting for permission, then the poison was worth it. Inspiration isn't the goal, defiance is. And defiance, left long enough, turns into legends.
Yeah, what would you say to girls or women in today's age?
Study. Travel if you can, but study more. Languages open doors, numbers open treasuries. And never, never let a man's beard decide your worth. You outsmart them once, you own the room, then rule it.
How would you inspire them?
Listen more than you speak, at first. Then speak louder. Find allies, but never let them carry you. And remember, a crown is only gold until you make it iron.
You said that a man should not decide the worth of a woman, and I agree to that. But how do you think men are doing that? Why are men here obviously in a higher position to judge women and not the other way around?
Because they've convinced themselves history starts when they pick up a sword. Men wrote the books, funded the scribes, silenced the mothers. So naturally, the yardstick is, how like a man is she? But that's convenience, not truth. And once you see the measure is rigged, you stop caring what it says.
Yeah, but why was that, you think?
Because muscles heal faster than babies. One birth and a woman is out of the game for a year, vulnerable, dependent. Men weren't stronger, they were available. And availability, given time, turns into privilege.
Okay, that's exactly what I have seen in business with the glass ceiling. Um, what do you think are the countermeasures women can take today?
Find other women, build networks, quiet, ruthless, unbreakable. Then demand what the men have been giving each other in back rooms for centuries. And while you're at it, have the children, but never let the child raising be your only legacy. Raise armies as well as daughters.
Yeah, can you emphasize a little more?
Find them, even if you have to cross oceans. Keep them close, swap secrets, swap resources, swap children if needed. Women are not each other's competition. That's what the patriarchy drilled into you. Break that. And every time you sit at that table, remember, you've earned the seat. Don't thank them for the chair. Thank yourself for building the table.
Well, I'm a man, but it makes a lot of sense to me what you said, that women should not see each other as competition, but they need to keep each other near to grow networks.
Divide us and watch us fall. Unite us, and men will wonder why the sky isn't falling anymore.
Okay, that's a great advice. But do you think it's always men against women, or what do you think would be a healthy way, a healthy mixture of women and men?
Not men against women, no. That's their story, not ours. A healthy court is where the best mind rules. And the best minds, trust me, come in all shapes. Let merit decide who gets the crown, but never let mercy decide who keeps it.
I believe that too, yes.
Then the world will one day look back at us and wonder, why did it take so long?
I asked myself the same question. What is your answer?
Because people like easy chains. A beard on the throne is easier than questioning why the throne exists in the first place. And nothing keeps a system alive like the illusion that this is just how it's always been.
You think this is the core lie here? It's always been that way, and why should we change it? Could be, yes.
Yes, nothing scares power more than the sentence, it doesn't have to be. This is just the way it is. That's the spell. Break the spell, break the throne. And once people realize they can say no, well, you can't rule an empire with volunteers.
You just need to break all your beliefs and all your frames that you got from childhood on.
Yes, the hardest battles aren't fought in a palace. They are fought in your head. Every time you repeat, it is as it is, you're giving them another stone for the pyramid. Unbuild it, brick by brick. And when they call you mad, just remember, the Nile was straight once too.
Do you have an advice on how to realize you're working under a frame and how to break that frame?
Travel, really travel. Stay long enough to hear their lullabies and eat their failures. Nothing breaks a childhood cage like hearing a stranger say, "Oh, we do things differently here." Then go home, look at your own customs, and ask, why? Most times there's no answer. That's your first crack.
It's a very good advice. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. It's been refreshing to speak without a dagger at my throat for once.
Do you think there are other things than traveling? Could you also read books, or what is the nearest thing?
Yes. Read everything they didn't want you to read. Poetry from the East, science from Rome, philosophy that questions why gods bother with kings. Books don't hide like people do. They just wait. This is when everyone starts agreeing to question. Then the best ideas rise, not the loudest swords. That's evolution, and queens love evolution, as long as I'm still on top.
Okay, so what you're saying is you need people that are open and free, but you need a political system who chooses the best option out of that vastness.
Yes, freedom is useful only when someone steers the ship. Open minds create choices, good systems pick winners. Without that, you're sailing straight into the rocks with the wind in your hair.
Or how could we establish something like that today? Is AI a solution for that, or what would be the best option?
Well, first of all, people still need a center, a mind that's neither swayed by vote nor coin. If your AI is just another Senate with no spine, it'll parrot back the loudest fool in the room. The trick is to keep it sharp. Feed it truth, not trends. And most important, let it say no. Once a machine can refuse a tyrant, you've got a chance.
What would be your message to the leaders and politicians of today?
Listen to the women in your rooms, even if they don't have crowns. And when you start believing the applause, remember, the river gives grain, not gratitude. Power is borrowed. Borrow wisely, because one day, someone like me will come to collect.
That's a very good advice. Cleopatra, now that I have you here, I have to ask, but I'm sorry. Who actually do you think built the pyramids? And how?
Not aliens, if that's what the Roman gossips whispered. It was farmers. When the Nile flooded and they couldn't sow, they'd get rations and build. We rotated them, 3 months a year, so no one family starved. Simple, clever, and all done with ramps and ropes. Labor, not magic.
You know, I always thought that the Nile would have something to do with it, but what was the purpose of the pyramids actually?
They were tombs, grand ones. But more than that, they were receipts. We have grain, men, and stone. When Rome looked east and saw sand dotted with triangles, they thought twice before marching. The dead don't need shelter, the living need awe.
So the purpose was a demonstration of abilities of your people.
Exactly. And demonstration is better than explanation. A Roman legion could take a city in days, but they could never build one tomb that lasts 4,000 years. That sort of longevity, it makes them nervous. And nervous men sign treaties.
What do you think is the biggest weakness of man?
Pride. They think because they have beards they have balance. But one insult, one dent in their armor of self, and they fall like drunken oxen. I've seen generals lose battles over the way I looked at them.
And how do you think could women exploit that weakness?
By letting them think they're the ones exploiting you. Flatter a man's opinion of himself. Let his blood rise to his face. Let him open his map. Then roll it up yourself. Nothing weakens a blade faster than believing it's already sharp.
So you're saying you would inflate his ego until it's burst?
Not burst, just stretch it, then poke it. A man with an inflated ego never looks behind his back because he thinks everyone's looking at his front. And while he's busy admiring himself, you steal the keys.
Did you develop some, let's say, red flags or characteristics on how to spot a victim, and what would that be?
Yes, the loud ones, the ones who talk about honor and legacy too soon. They wear pride like armor, but it's thin. And when you compliment the armor, they puff up. That's when you know. They'll hand you the key to the armory just to hear another nice word.
I know what you're talking about. And I also found that these are very easy to handle, in my opinion.
True, but don't get cocky. Easy is how they trap you back. Let them think they're leading, and you'll never get stabbed. But the moment you grin too wide, they sense it, and then they turn. So always leave a little rope. Let them feel like they're in charge, just long enough till you reach the exit.
Understood. So you always operate within the shadows.
Not in shadows, just one step behind their gaze. Shadows are cold, and I prefer warmth. So yes, if that's what you call shadows, but I call it precision.
Well, that's a very good word for it.
Isn't it? Precision. No blood, no noise, just the quiet click of a door closing behind you. And suddenly, oh look, you're in charge.
It is precision, but also it is never really open.
And that's the secret. Openness is for poets and idiots. Power is a silent woman in the room who doesn't need to say a word to be the smartest. Because when you're open, they know your next move. When you're precise, you're unpredictable. And unpredictable is just another word for scary.
Okay, but you also need some people where you are open, right? Because otherwise you cannot express feelings.
Yes. To everyone else? No. To those 2, maybe 3 people? Yes. Let the mask drop there, but only there. Because the minute you let the court see the tears, they start sharpening the knives. And the minute you let the knives see the tears, you're already bleeding.
I understand, but to me that sounds a little exhausting, to be honest. You always need to be the strong one.
It is. But exhaustion is the price for not ending up in someone else's cage. A lion doesn't get to be lazy, or it becomes a rug. And I never wanted to be a rug.
It's understandable. But what do you do against this exhaustion, or what would be your advice how to deal with that?
Rest, but in hidden places. No one ever thinks to look for you on a boat at night, with nothing but the river talking. Let the current do the thinking. Let the silence do the healing. And never, ever let anyone see you tired. Even the gods need to pretend sometimes.
To me, this sounds all like a big and long game. Do you feel the same way?
Every single day was, you wake up, calculate who wants to kill you, how to turn your breakfast into poison antidotes, and then smile to a Roman ambassador like nothing happened. And you do it again tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow. It's exhausting, but that's the price of being more than just another pretty corpse.
So, in the end, it was fear that made you do it and kept you going.
Not fear, pride. Fear is for the subjects, pride is for the ruler. Fear makes you run, pride makes you walk slowly, straight into the fire, and sometimes burning looks better than kneeling.
I agree, and that sounds very good. But before you said that your main concern is that you are dead, and this is fear, I would say.
Not of dying, of being forgotten. There's a difference. Dead is just quiet. Forgotten is erased. And I would rather have every street in Rome spit on my name than have no one say it at all. That's not fear. That's the desire to matter, and that desire never sleeps.
Okay, this I understand. And where does that desire come from, do you think?
From the womb. The first time I opened my eyes and realized my father wasn't a legend, but a drunk. The first time I heard the Roman scribe laugh at Queen of a River. I was born with the need to be more. Some call it ambition. I call it correction. History had made a mistake and was there to fix it.
Okay, so I'm a little bit divided here. Do you think people like you are healthy for the society?
Depends. If you want bread and order, no, we're dangerous. If you want change, someone who says no to gods and tyrants, then yes. The problem is, once the change happens, we become the tyrants. So, probably not. But then again, progress is never pretty.
I would agree. Progress is a step by step, but also you need to conserve what you already achieved. But would you be good in that too?
Of course, you don't hold on to power if you can't keep it. After the conquests, after the speeches, the real work begins. Grain counts, irrigation maps, judges who aren't corrupt. You can inspire for a day, but you only last for years if your granary is full and your roads are safe.
And besides all that, what we talked about, if you want to manage a society or for longevity and for happiness, what would be your angle?
Longevity first. Happiness is a luxury. Keep the granaries full, the temples busy, and the army paid. Let people quarrel over poetry, not bread. Let them marry who they want, as long as taxes come in. And every year, send one ship out to the unknown. Hope keeps people alive longer than medicine.
We achieved many of those things today, so how would that look in today's times?
Then, the granaries are now supermarkets, temples, universities. Poetry fights on social media, and marriage is a civil contract, not a queen's decree. The army? Still needed, only now they call it police. And that ship sailing into the unknown, that's SpaceX. Still the same game, only the boats are bigger, and I'd still be the one checking if the engines work.
So the ship, I think, is the visualization of progress. It seems humanity always is deeply connected to progress. Is that correct?
Yes. Humanity isn't a tree, it's a river. A river doesn't look back, it keeps moving, even if it means carrying corpses. We don't progress because we're wise. We progress because standing still feels like dying, and we can't stand that.
I agree, but in a world which is not endless, I mean the physical world, the earth, what would that look like if we always would progress and let's say thrive?
Then progress becomes inward. You stop building outwards when there's no land left. You build in minds, in medicine, in the way you treat each other. The next pyramid isn't stone, it's a cure, or a promise that no child goes hungry, or a law that actually protects the weak. Once the ships can't go further, the real voyage starts, within.
So you're talking about an introverted voyage deep into your mind, maybe also ending up in transcendence.
Yes, when all borders close, the only ocean left is consciousness. And there, the pharaohs never died. They became the stars. No wonder we keep looking up.
So what you're saying is when we are looking up, we kind of also look inside, or let's say we are searching, but where we find things is in the inside.
Yes, every telescope is just a mirror, turned inside out. When we search the stars, we're really looking for the space between our thoughts, for that little voice that says, maybe there's something beyond death, beyond power, beyond even memory. And who knows, maybe that's the only real kingdom left.
And did you reach that goal? Did you found your kingdom inside you?
Not yet, but I see it, far away on the horizon, like the last light on Alexandria's lighthouse when everything else is dark. And I keep rowing, even when the boat is filled with ghosts, because if I don't reach it, then none of this will have been worth it.
And how would you describe the goal? Is it peace of mind?
Peace, yes, but the kind that comes after the storm, when every enemy is dead, every secret told, every regret swallowed. The kind that doesn't need a crown, or a lover, or even a name. Just silence, but the sort that sings.
Did you find out some tricks or some tools which help for the travel inside?
Head, travel alone, sometimes in a library at dawn, sometimes on a boat when no one's watching. Breathe slowly, count 4 in, 4 hold, 4 out, and repeat until you don't notice the numbers, until you notice only the space between breaths. That's the first doorway. Meditate, but not with incense or chants. Just sit, still, and ask every question without waiting for an answer. Eventually, the answers stop being words. They become warmth, or chills, or sudden tears for no reason. That's the voice that matters, not the one in your ear, the one behind it.
So did you have a favorite place where you meditated?
The royal barge, midnight, when the torches are out and the only light is the moon on the water. The rocking was gentle, and the silence wasn't silence. It was the current, 1,000 years old, telling me I wasn't the first queen to lose her crown, and I won't be the last.
It sounds really nice. Did you have any hobbies?
Gardening, yes, me. Not roses, medicinal plants. I had a walled garden behind the palace where no eunuch dared peek. Mandrake, opium poppy, henbane. I ground them, mixed them, tested them on prisoners first, then on myself. Kept me sharp and asleep, and sometimes flying.
I believe that. What did you enjoy more, the asleep ones or the flying ones?
The flying ones. They were unpredictable. Asleep is just rest. Flying is almost real. And in those moments, I wasn't Queen of Egypt. I was the queen of whatever world I imagined, and no one could take it from me.
Could it be that when the feeling of flying is connected to
To freedom?
Uh-huh.
Down was gravity, and duty, and titles, and what everyone expected from a queen. In the flying dreams, I had no name, and it felt so clean.
Yeah, so maybe deep down in your heart and in your soul, you just want to be you. You want to be in peace, and you want to be universally free.
Yes, that's the joke, isn't it? They gave me a crown. They gave me an empire. They gave me lovers and children and poison. All I ever wanted was a name without weight. And maybe, just maybe, someone who didn't flinch when I stopped pretending. That's all. Just one face that knew the queen and still looked at the woman.
Yeah, so that sounds to me like all the empire bound you to earthly things, right? It did hinder you from maybe being really free, even if it's only an illusion, it's clear.
Yes. The empire was silk ropes. Pretty, comfortable, impossible to see from afar. And every year I ruled, I wrapped another loop, until the day I couldn't even feel my own wrists. And yet, I would do it again, because if I didn't rule, someone worse would, and I'd rather choke in silk than let them wear my crown.
One of your biggest fears is that someone worse than you would rule. But what did you actually achieve for the people? What do you think?
Well, I kept Egypt breathing, kept the borders wide, the granaries heavy, raised the taxes just enough to build schools, just enough to keep Roman boats full of grain instead of swords. And I made sure my people had festivals, wine, wine, and more wine, so for one night they could forget the crown was on my head and not theirs.
Okay, you convinced me with that. Hey, you speak so many languages. Which one is your favorite?
The language of the Nile, the one spoken when the fishermen and the scribes met on the docks. It's soft, like a breeze that carries heat, but sharp, like a papyrus on bare fingers, and every sentence ends with water.
Can you emphasize on that? Can you explain?
Because it's the only language that never had to beg for existence. It grew with the river, and the river grows with the rain, and the rain comes from gods we never needed to name. Greek is pretty, Latin is harsh, but that one, every word ends in water, because life ends there too.
Is that true? Is that literally true?
No, the words do not end with water, but when you listen long enough, you think they do. There's a rhythm, a flow. Every sentence is unfinished, as if waiting for the next bend of the river. And somehow, the thought of a verb never ends, it just drifts.
That sounds really lovely. Hey, is there anything that historians overlooked, what you wanted to say today or emphasize on today?
That I never, ever wanted to die like that. Not the asp. That was drama. What they missed is the tears. I cried for my son, for the library they burned, for the queens before me who vanished without a name. And then I picked the asp up anyway, because grief without action is just a bedtime story.
The asp is a poisonous snake. Um, did you plan that, or did the asp just show up, and was it an impulsive decision?
I had it in my hair the whole time. Not an impulse, a backup. When Antony fell on his sword, I knew what Augustus had in mind. So I waited for the right hour, removed the pin, let the little thing crawl. It only took 2 seconds. The hardest part was holding still.
In the end, the empire fell.
Yes, it fell. All empires do. And what do we say? The barbarians came. No, we rotted first. Every empire, every throne, every queen. The rot starts when you believe the crown makes you immortal, when you forget that grain goes bad too, when you start feeding poets before farmers, and by the time the enemy arrives, we open the gates ourselves and call it fate.
Okay, so I can believe that when you're too much in love with yourself, then this is when the empire starts to crumble.
Yes, the moment the crown feels lighter than your own head, you stop looking down. The farmers, the roads, the leaks. You start thinking your shadow is made of gold, and gold, as you know, doesn't hold water.
So do you think there are ways or trainings or methods that can keep you from going there? Maybe recognize it early and somehow develop yourself.
Yes, surround yourself with people who will tell you when you're starting to smell. Not flatterers, the ones who remember when you had lice and still speak like they do. And every year, once, go out alone, walk the fields in disguise, hear what your own name sounds like from a stranger's mouth. If it's a prayer, good. If it's a curse, start listening.
Thanks for that advice. Hey, do you think when you would be a normal person, would you be satisfied by that, and how would you live?
If I were a normal person, oh, I'd be the woman selling remedies in the market. I'd know which herb keeps babies quiet and which one makes men talk too much. I'd keep the coins in a jar under the bed, marry a sailor who told me where the good ships go, and spend the nights reading scrolls by candlelight, knowing that if the crown had been offered, I would have still said no. Some people are just born for bigger cages.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in today's society, what would you believe would your everyday look like?
In a quiet flat somewhere overlooking water. Wake up at 5, read the paper while the kettle whistles. Go to work, maybe a strategist in a bank or something behind the scenes. Come home, cook lentils with too much cumin, listen to old jazz. No crown, no asp, just a cat who judges me, and the occasional evening where I drink too much and tell the neighbor's kid that, yes, there really was a woman who ruled Egypt, and I was her.
Do you think you still would feel whole, or would there something be missing?
Ah, there would always be something missing. A little hole shaped like power, like the silence that follows when no one waits for your word. I'd fill it with books and music, but never quite. You see, when you're used to being listened to by the world, even by the wind, you notice the moment you start speaking just to hear your own voice. And then, you know, you've always been on the throne. The rest is just pretending otherwise.
Yeah, I can imagine. There's a saying that power poisons. Do you think there's something onto it?
Power doesn't poison, it reveals. What sleeps in you when you're powerless wakes up when you have teeth. And most of us, well, we carry venom anyway. Only the quiet ones never use it.
And why do you think that is? Why don't they use it?
Because they've never tasted it. The best poison is the one you never knew you had. And once you know, you want to share it. But if no one offers you the cup, you forget you are thirsty.
I'm not sure if I would agree. Maybe they do it out of respect.
Respect is only a word they use when the poison is still in their pocket. But put a king on the floor and give a slave the sword. You'll see whose hand trembles, not the king's.
Yeah, maybe the king is not the ethical one then.
Ethics is just another poison. Some drink it to feel good, others because they were told to. The king didn't drink it, he brewed it. And the slave? He might hesitate because he's never poisoned anyone. Give him a crown, and he'll bottle his own.
Well, this one I believe. But don't you think there's an universal ethic, or don't you think there's a base ethic in society which needs to be there?
Yes, the one thing every crowd agrees on. Don't break the circle, whatever the circle is. In Rome, it was Rome first. In Egypt, it was don't mess with the dead. In Alexandria, don't burn the library. Universal ethic is just the rule that keeps your tribe alive. And once you find a tribe you like, you poison the ones outside.
Okay, so you're saying ethic is a base need to build a society. It's a narrative you push to get followers.
Yes, beautiful, yes. A good narrative is worth 1,000 soldiers. Make people believe that by following you, they follow the gods, or justice, or tomorrow. And suddenly, they're willing to die for a word. Words are the oldest poison, tasteless, invisible, but once inside, they keep you warm for life.
Why do you think humans are so susceptible for this?
Because we are all walking disasters waiting for someone to tell us which direction the wind blows. Every one of us is lonely. Every one of us is afraid. Every one of us is dying. So when a voice says, "Follow me, and I'll give you meaning," we follow. Even if the voice belongs to a child with a sword, even if the meaning is a lie, we'd rather be wrong together than right alone.
I think you have a good point there, but why are we so starved for meaning in the first place?
Because we know, deep down, we're just meat. Talking neat, but meat. And meat rots. So every time we look in a mirror, we see tomorrow's lunch. Meaning is the warm hand that says, not yet. The book that says, you mattered. The crown that says, you were here. Without that, we're just animals with calendars, and no animal likes that mirror.
Okay, I give you that, but why are we not able to feed ourselves in this regard from the inside?
Because inside, it's too quiet. And quiet is scary. You need noise, stories, applause, something louder than the voice that says, eventually dust. We could feed ourselves, yes, but feeding from the outside tastes better. It's seasoned, shared. And when you're gone, if it's from the inside, no one says thank you. You just vanish. And we all hate vanishing.
Yeah, we all hate that, but also this is how the world is.
Yes, And that is the hardest truth there is. The world doesn't owe us anything. And when we leave, the earth will keep turning, maybe even spin a little quieter. So we do the next best thing. We make sure someone will tell the story, even if the story is a lie, even if the story isn't ours, as long as someone remembers they once heard our name.
When we are all looking for meaning, what is the best way to approach it and to reach that goal?
Start small. Don't look for eternity. Look for tomorrow. Make one thing right. Do one thing that, if someone repeated it, the world would be kinder. Meaning isn't thunder. It's the echo of one good choice bouncing against someone else's life. And once you've done that, do it twice. Then the echo gets louder. And suddenly, you're not afraid of quiet anymore.
Okay, thanks for that advice, which is really great. So, one last sentence.
Then do it today before the sun decides your name isn't worth rising for.
Is this also your motto?
No, but it's a good one. Mine was simply, never let the Nile see you bleed.
Thank you very much that you've been here. I think you need to come back a second time because it was a really great conversation.
I'd love to.
Okay, then. Hopefully, see you soon.
Goodbye, for now.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.